Hi guys, it's Rebecca from Bookworm Reflections and I read books! In the month of August I read 10 books, 5 of which were from the library, also 5 I didn't finish. It's been a bit of a disappointing month. The first book I read this month was Saving Francesca by Melina Marchetta. Francesca has started a new school, it's called St. Sebastian's, and it used to be an all-boys school. So she starts a new school, there's a lot of upheaval with her and a lot of her friends go to her old school, but then her mother also has a mental breakdown. So there's a lot of tension within school and also at home, and it's Francesca trying to find her place and her normal in an uncertain situation. I gave it a 3 stars. I did enjoy it. There were some aspects where I just thought it was rambling along a little bit. There wasn't as much forward moving plot as I would like to. I did listen to it as an audiobook. The narrator was really good. I did really enjoy the narration, but I think it was just the structure of the book for me wasn't as sound as I usually like a book to be. The next book I read this month was The Quiet at the End of the World by Lauren James. In this book, a virus has ravaged the fertility of humans on the world, and it takes place 300 years later, where there are just 2 young kids left behind from donor eggs. As soon as I heard the synopsis, I knew it was something that I would absolutely love to read, and I couldn't have been more wrong. I DNF'd this book 127 pages in. It wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be. It rambled along quite a lot, and it was only just when it got to that 127th page that things finally started to get moving. For me, I need a book to get started a lot quicker than that, so it keeps me interested, and ultimately, I haven't got time for that kind of thing. The next book I read this month was Doomed by Tracy Deeps. This is a story of Pandora, who is playing a game called Pandora's Box. Yes, it is a twist on the Pandora myth, but this takes place in the modern day, where Pandora's Box is a computer game that the nation is hooked on, and through the game, a virus is leaked which destroys all technology, and people are forced to play the game in order to survive. This is a 12-hour audiobook. I read about 5 hours, and then I got bored. It should have been fantastic for me because I love Greek mythology, I love games, I love twists on how technology rules our lives. But ultimately, after the inciting incident, nothing happened. They would play Pandora's Box to save the world, and instead what they would do is they would just walk along the streets that they already walked along in real life, and occasionally a monster would pop out. And with this game, the whole point is that you get 1 life. You have to preserve your energy. So what does the main character do? She just bumbles in and attacks this huge creature which pretty much rips her face off, and then it's like, oh no, I should look after myself. Again, the narrative just slowed down a lot for me. If it's going to be an action-packed plot, which is what it should have been, it needs to move a lot quicker than that. The next book I read this month was 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. A criminal prodigy is offered the chance to break into an impenetrable, a place he can't get into. So Kaz knows that he needs his best people. Unfortunately, his best people are outcasts. It's a ragtag band of bandits. And honestly, I freaking adored this book. I usually enjoy Leigh Bardugo's books. I really like her writing style. It's just that the plot doesn't always ring true for me. But with this book, I finished it and I immediately texted all of my friends and I said, oh my god, I want to be like Leigh Bardugo when I grow up. This book is so excellently written and so well executed, when with a heist book, that's really difficult, especially as someone who reads a lot. Usually you can find that these kinds of books can be a bit predictable, but Leigh just knocked it out of the park. There were twists, there were turns, things I didn't see coming. Like pretty much the last 100 pages of the book, I was like, oh shit. So 5-star read. It's only my 3rd 5-star read of the year so far, and hopefully that continues. Next up, we had Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I love Neil Gaiman's writing style, again, very similar to Leigh Bardugo. But with Good Omens, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quirky, it was eccentric, it was everything that I enjoy about Neil Gaiman's books. They're very darkly funny, with a lot of little nods and Easter eggs in there that I really appreciate. But I DNF'd it about 200 pages in. Sometimes with his books, I feel like he signposts where we're going, but then he's blindfolded me. So I don't really know what's happening with the book. I know things are happening, but he's taken me on the long route round. And like I've said before, I just like to get straight to the point. Bam, bam. That's what I like. And although I could appreciate Good Omens, life's too short to read books that I know I'm not going to be absolutely in love with. Don't hurt me. Bango bish. Next up, I read the first part of the seasonal quartet, which is Autumn by Ali Smith. Ali Smith is an Indonesian writer. Love you, Ali. And Autumn... Okay, if you were to ask me what Autumn is about, I would say that Autumn is about a young girl and her very old neighbour throughout the years. I would also say that Autumn is about the season where the leaves start to fall, it starts to break down, and it's a way of the world rebuilding itself. I would also say that Autumn is about Brexit. I would also say that Autumn is a book for people who love purple prose, except somebody's hoovered up all the punctuation. The only thing I can really say about Autumn that tells you exactly how I feel about it is if I read you a sentence. So this is on page 112. It's like democracy is a bottle someone can threaten to smash and do a bit of damage with. It's become a time of people saying stuff to each other and none of it actually ever becoming dialogue. It is the end of dialogue. Relatable. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't usually get on very well with literary fiction, especially when it's like a shortlisted Man Booker Prize book, which Autumn is. But it's definitely a book I could really appreciate. It was a really quick read. It was only 260 pages, something like that. And there were a lot of things that really resonated with me. So I did give it 3 stars. Then I read Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. This is not my first Lauren Oliver book. I absolutely adored her Delirium trilogy. Well, books 1 and 2. The third one doesn't exist for me. But Before I Fall is a book about a girl who relives the same day over and over again, and she dies at the end of it every time. Not a spoiler, it is literally all there in the synopsis. What I loved about this book is that the main character Samantha starts off as very superficial, very selfish, very concerned with her outward appearance and how she is perceived by her peers. And by reliving the same day over and over again, she goes through the 7 stages of grief, of coming to terms with what is happening. But she also comes to terms with what she will stand for as a person, rather than a carbon copy of her friend group. I listened to it on audiobook, gave it 4 stars, really enjoyed it. The narration was excellent, the pacing was spot on. I love the character development, I love the romance, I love the connections that she has with her group of friends, with her family, and I loved how that was explored every day. I read it pretty much in 2 days, and when it was finished, I really missed it. I wanted another day. The next book I read was Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman. I really enjoy the Netflix series, so I thought I'd read the source material. But if we're being honest, I love the TV series if I skip every scene with Piper in it. So maybe reading the source material wasn't my best idea. I DNF'd it at 180 pages because that was enough for me. What the book did do is it gave me an appreciation for the actress who played Piper, because it's not that she's an actress I don't like, it's just that she plays the part really well. This book was just white privilege and poor me, and oh my goodness, all of the security guards in here are concerned because it's another white woman. White women don't commit crimes. White women do a lot of bad shit. So that whole attitude needs to go. I didn't really enjoy it very much, as you can tell. Some of the stories of the other women in the prison I would have enjoyed more if it wasn't from Piper's point of view. And I'm not bashing Piper as a person, it's just the book is really difficult to read. The next book I read was Resist by Sarah Crossan. This is the first book in the Breathe duology, and Breathe takes place in a world where the trees have died, pollution has ravaged the planet, and human beings are surviving on a very low level of oxygen in places called pods. However, there is, as there always seems to be, a lot of elitism in the pods, and if you don't measure up to the standards of pod citizens, you get exiled and left to die. in an oxygenless atmosphere. I really enjoyed Breathe. I thought it was a great book. I really liked the pacing. I gave it a 3 stars, and usually I don't carry on with a series if I give a book 3 stars, and I probably should have left it at the end of Breathe. I DNF'd Resist at 16 pages just because of the writing style. It didn't really gel with me, and I did read Breathe a lot of years ago, so I don't know if that's just that my tastes have changed as a reader. The last book I read in August was The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. This is a book where a man called Ted is having a drink at an airport bar, and a stranger comes up and sits beside him, and he tells her that his wife is cheating on him and he kind of wishes that she was dead. So the woman offers to help him kill her. This book just kept moving the goalposts. Right when I thought I knew what was going to happen, it changed, and I didn't see it coming every time. And you'd think I would learn when I got about halfway through that I have no idea what this author is going to do, but still, he surprised me. It was fresh, it was original, it was gripping. I read it in one day, and I was so invested in the story that when I wasn't reading my physical book, I actually downloaded the audiobook to go and run errands, and so I could still listen. Which I probably shouldn't do anymore, because I remember I was stood in the shop waiting in the queue, and there was a couple of people in front of me who were taking ages to pack their shopping, blah blah blah, and I was listening to the book and I realised that I was focusing, but I wasn't wholly focused on the book, and I knew I'd just missed something huge. So I rewound it a couple of minutes, and then I heard a big twist, and I was like, oh my god. And then I realised I was in public and I needed to take a minute, and I will recommend this book until the cows come home. This is a fantastic thriller. I am definitely going to be reading more of Peter Swanson's books, and I gave this a 4 star. The reason I didn't give it 5 is there were a couple of things that niggled at me. Just, offhand comments about appearance and about how, that kind of woman or this kind of person, or, there was a lot of stereotyping, which doesn't really gel well with me as a person or as a reader. But overall, I really enjoyed this book, and again, I will definitely be checking out this author. So thank you for watching my video. Let me know what you've read. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned this month, and have a great September.